Meetings with the Pledge of Allegiance, so if you would rise and join me. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. I'll start with some meeting administrative issues. The planning board continues to voluntarily offer remote participation. If anyone is calling in remotely, any member, then we will do a roll call vote. If you wish to attend this meeting remotely using a computer or smart device, you visit www.zoom.us. Meeting ID is 754-663-912. You may also call in by phone for audio participation only. Area code 646-558-8656. Same meeting ID, 754-663-912. If you have technical problems getting into the meeting, call 603-845-5585. If you're on the phone, you may toggle star 9 to raise your hand to be recognized and star 6 to unmute yourself once recognized. I will now introduce the members and staff who are present this evening. To my far right is alternate Mr. Wood, alternate Mr. Mousy, planning director Ms. Robidoux. In the back is our new full-time clerk, Ms. Wilson, and the town council liaison, Mr. Chase.
Good evening.
Member Mr. Healy.
Good evening.
Member Mr. Minervini.
Good evening.
Chair, my vice chair, Mr. O'Connor.
Good evening.
To my far left is Mr. Revenger, who is managing all of our TV work, which is great. We thank you. Our Deputy Director of Public Works, Mr. LaRue.
Good evening.
Member Mr. Fishman.
Good evening.
Member Mr. Pelletier. Member Mr. Chircello, who is the town administrator rep.
Good evening.
Secretary Mr. Malaby.
Hello.
I'm David Nelson. I'm the chair. First item on our administrative business tonight is escrow. We have a couple items. First one is number 25-18 for Bangor Bank.
Thank you. So the project is for Bangor Savings Bank located at 46 Crystal Avenue. The request is to approve a final release of letter of credit number 499 drawn on Bangor Savings Bank in the amount of $88,368.30, and the amount to retain is $0.
So moved.
Moved by Malaby, seconded by Chircello to release as presented. Poll the board, Mr. Chase.
Yes.
Mr. Healy.
Yes.
Mr. Minervini.
Yes.
Mr. O'Connor.
Yes.
Mr. Fishman.
Yes.
Mr. Pelletier.
Yes.
Mr. Chircello.
Yes.
Mr. Malaby.
Yes.
Chair votes yes. Next item is number 25-19, JAL LLC.
Okay, this is for Denali Estates, Phase 4. The project is located at the end of Daniel Road. The request is to approve release number 1 in the amount of $957,410.65 on letter of credit number 7000590-1 drawn on Enterprise Bank, and to request a replacement letter of credit in the amount of $248,112.50 for the above noted project.
So moved. I second.
Okay.
I have to abstain in this one.
Oh, okay. Moved by Malaby, seconded by O'Connor to approve the release and request a replacement letter of credit as presented. And we'll pull the board. Mr. Chase.
Yes.
Mr. Healy.
Yes.
Mr. Minervini.
Yes.
Mr. O'Connor.
Yes.
Mr. Fishman.
Yes.
Mr. Pelletier.
Yes.
Mr. Chircello.
Abstain.
Mr. Malaby.
Yes.
Chair votes yes. It is approved. Next up is the approval of the minutes of August 6th. Has everyone had a chance to review those? Is there any error or omission?
The original August 6th has been slightly amended.
Okay. I haven't actually seen the amended one. What was changed? You know?
Well, that's what I'm trying to figure out, too.
The website.
We changed a
The date.
DerryNewHampshire.org to gov because we changed our domain. That's the only one I saw.
Motion to approve with the change.
Second.
Moved by Chair Cello, seconded by Malamy to approve the minutes as amended. I will poll the board. Mr. Chase?
I will abstain, Mr. Chair. I was not there.
Okay. Mr. Healy?
Yes.
Mr. Minervini?
Yes.
Mr. O'Connor?
Yes.
Mr. Fisherman?
Yes.
Mr. Pelletier?
Yes.
Mr. Chair Cello?
Yes.
Mr. Malaby?
Yes.
And the chair votes yes. Minutes are approved as amended. We have correspondence. There was something in the folder.
Yes, yes, Mr. Chair, we have one piece of correspondence in your packet tonight. It's the quarterly change of use form for the town. It's short but sweet, but I'm happy to announce we have 10 unique new businesses in Derry as of the past 3 months.
Great, thank you. Under other business, we have architectural design review for a sign in the traditional business overlay district, parcel ID 30044, 5 West Broadway, The Grind.
Okay, so back in October, the board had reviewed a proposed sign rendering for the Grind that reopened under new ownership. There was a difference noted between the installed sign and the rendering that the board had reviewed. The business owner has been made aware of that and is also correcting the, there's a height requirement in the TBOD where signs cannot be lower than 8 feet above grade. So they're in the process of correcting that. Code enforcement will follow up on that. The rendering before the board is a rendering of the current sign. The board had asked for an opportunity to formally review that. We did ask the owner to be here this evening, reached out to her this morning, but
Okay.
not here in
So we
case
do
there
have,
are questions.
We do have a graphic, and the status of the relocation of the sign is in progress?
I believe it is in progress. I was out today, so I wasn't able to follow up before the meeting to find out.
Okay.
So the height issue, Mr. Chair, the code enforcement will take care of the fact that it's not at the proper height?
So, yeah, I mean, I guess we should clarify going forward. There are things that are within the jurisdiction of the planning board because they're in site plan regs
CBD.
or zone, subdivision regs, but the the sign regs are in the zoning ordinance, and we're not usually the ones who enforce that. So, do we need a special process when we're talking about new businesses in the TBOD to at least point them to that zoning compliance issue?
Generally, when we have change of uses in the TBOD, one of the planning comments for the sign-off is that we make them aware of the TBOD sign requirements, note that they have to comply, and also that they need to bring a rendering to the planning board for architectural design review. Our process now is that when those signs are installed, code enforcement will be double-checking to make sure that they meet all of the requirements, and they'll follow up as necessary.
Okay, great, thank you. Any other comments or questions on the revised artwork for the sign?
I just have one. Typically, I've said this in the past, that I like applicants to be here. However, this sign is already up, and it's really just correcting something. We approved a sign last year. They went with a different design. It's hanging on the building. We're just correcting that it's, the sign that we're actually approving is the one that they're using.
Okay, so yeah, we're kind of doing an alibi, so to speak. Any other questions, comments?
Mr. Chair, pursuant to the Town of Derry zoning ordinance, Article 12, signs, Section 165-101.5, signs in the TBOD, I move to approve the sign rendering presented for the Grind, parcel 30044, 5 West Broadway, as presented. The board finds the sign is compatible with the surrounding buildings, meets the regulations contained in the ordinance, and complements the surrounding architecture.
Second.
Moved by Malaby, seconded by Churchello. I'll poll the board. Mr. Chase?
Yes.
Mr. Healy?
Yes.
Mr. Minervini?
Yes.
Mr. O'Connor?
Yes.
Mr. Fisherman?
Yes.
Mr. Pelletier?
Yes.
Mr. Churchello?
Yes.
Mr. Malaby?
Yes.
Chair votes yes. The revised sign design is approved. Next is Planning Director and Chairman updates.
Okay, just as a reminder, or to just verify with the board, for the November 5th meeting, we'll be coming up on the deadline for that sooner rather than later. And we're hoping not to hold a meeting on that day. I'm not going to be available to be at the meeting at all. So it's at the board's pleasure. If you want to still hold the meeting, it's up to you.
Well, we don't have the intern to fall back on, so I think we probably should reschedule.
Okay.
Anyone object to that?
No, I mean, I don't know what the alternative is, really. If Elizabeth's not going to be here, then we got to make a change.
Yeah, so we can opt to not schedule, or we can opt to look for, we don't want to have two meetings like week to week. We could do that if you want to do it, but.
So we don't know what's on the agenda. We just know it's a regular meeting day that we can't meet.
Yeah, if we know that we're not having a meeting, then we will put that on the website that there is no deadline for that meeting date, so that
And
there
that's
will
still
not
a
be
couple
one.
months away, so we can call it later if we need an extra special.
Yeah, I mean, if you want to cancel it and
Okay.
post that it's canceled, that's fine. If you get people banging down your door, I need to, then we can,
We'll
in
take a
October,
look at it.
revisit
Okay.
rescheduling maybe to an off week.
Okay, all right, we'll look at that. Just want to let you know that we should be having the second workshops on both the gateway zoning changes and the legislative updates at our next meeting on September 17th. And then I would like to put a plea out for, we're looking for anyone who would be interested in being a Derry representative for the Robert Frost Old Stagecoach Scenic Byway Council. They meet quarterly. They're very short meetings, are about an hour. They update every couple of years the corridor management plan for the state scenic byway that goes through Derry. And it's not a heavy lift at all. It's a really, really good group of people. I worked with them for years, but unfortunately, I'm not a Derry resident, so can't do that. George Sioris is our representative right now, and I know that he would appreciate if anyone else would like to volunteer, so I'm putting out a public plea for that.
Okay. And is that something they can volunteer through the volunteer form on the
Yes.
town's website?
Yes.
Yeah, great.
Thank you.
And I don't have anything of note other than we still need a third alternate. So again, referencing that form, if anyone wants to volunteer, that would be great. Moving on, we have a public hearing on Grindhouse Meat Company LLC. HB Berggren is the owner, parcel ID 32025-003, 43.5 Crystal Avenue.
Okay. So the proposal before the board this evening is for a mixed-use site plan consisting of a 5,000 square foot office building, an 8,000 or so square foot butcher shop with office space, 5,500 square foot, 150 seat restaurant, and a 3,000 square foot retail building. On August 6th, the applicant had requested the board to continue the hearing to this evening so that they could complete and address outstanding comments. Jurisdiction has not yet been accepted, so the 65-day clock hasn't started. The intent of the proposal is to complete the site in 2 phases. Phase 1 will be the construction of all utilities, drainage, and improvements required to complete the entire project, but the construction of the pad-ready retail and office buildings will be deferred to Phase 2. Phase 1 will include the construction of the butcher shop, the cut room, and a 150-seat restaurant. VHB is providing peer review of the project and has completed the first review. A copy of Mark Verostik's comments are included in your packet, and the Dubé Group also received a copy. There's a 34-foot wide access provided from Crystal Ave with a deeded access agreement between the subject property and the Gibbs gas station. The site will be served by municipal water and sewer. Gas is provided by Liberty Utilities for Phase 1. Lighting, waste storage, and snow storage have all been accounted for on the plan. For staff comments or concerns, for parking, if we could confirm that the parking calc was for the 150 seats in the restaurant and that they included the bar seating. I believe they did based on the architecturals we were provided, but we just want to verify that. The intent of the plan is to share parking. Phase 2 parking will not affect parking for Phase 1. For example, if the retail building becomes a smaller restaurant, it would be one that served food earlier in the day than the restaurant hours of operation. Traffic, based on the traffic summary prepared by the Dubay Group, traffic patterns will remain unchanged. As there are existing turn lanes on Crystal Ave, none will need to be created. It's unknown at this time whether the development of Phase 2 will trip the warrant to require a traffic signal at the entrance, but that could be reviewed during Phase 2. Based on the updated trip generation summary, it does not seem likely the number of trips at full build-out will require additional traffic infrastructure. No ZBA approvals were required. Highway Safety Committee looked at the plan in July and had no concerns other than the question of a future traffic signal, which has been answered. Conservation Commission reviewed in June, and also they indicated areas where they would prefer to see snow storage areas. Those are noted on the plan. There was extensive discussion at TRC with regard to drainage methods to ensure that the plan met our requirements while taking into account the existing topography. The TRC also discussed the retention and protection of the monitoring wells located right near the entrance to the Gibbs gas station lot. Construction of Phase 1 is being planned to account for future utility needs in Phase 2. The fire department requested protection be put in place if the restaurant places the CO tanks outside the building. The applicant added a fence along the property line with T-bones at the request of the police department to ensure there's no overflow parking taking place on abutting lots. A sign package has not yet been provided, and it's recommended that the board review the sign package administratively once a permit is ready to be submitted to the town. And the only other comment is wetlands delineation took place over 5 years ago, and we'd just be looking for comment on whether the board felt that it needed to be delineated just based on DES requirements, but there are no wetland impacts. So that's really, that would be up to the board whether they wanted to put the applicant through that additional expense. There's 3 waivers, which Doug will review, and there are 5 permits that would be required. Recommendation is to accept jurisdiction, make a determination on regional impact, review the waiver request, and to approve the plan with the conditions as required based on review of the plan. Doug McGuire from the Dubay Group is here to represent the applicants.
So, Ms. Rhoda, you indicated that VHB had done their first review. Is there anticipated to be a second one?
There were some comments to be addressed, so the revised plans would go back to VHB to ensure that all of their comments had been addressed. Once we receive that, that's generally when we get ready to get the plan ready for execution by the board.
So if those are all Scribner's things, then fine, but otherwise, should we make a condition of approval on meeting all of those? I assume that's probably already in there.
There is some.
Yeah, it's generally it's generally one of the first or second conditions is to address all comments in the VHB letters, forthcoming or otherwise.
Okay, great. Thank you very much. So at this point, can I have a motion on jurisdiction?
Yes, Mr. Chair, I'd like to move to accept jurisdiction of the commercial mixed-use site plan before the board for the Grindhouse Meat Company, PID 32025-003, 43.5 Crystal Avenue.
Second.
So moved by Malaby, seconded by Churchill to accept jurisdiction. I'll poll the board. Mr. Chase?
Yes.
Mr. Healy?
Yes.
Mr. Minovini?
Yes.
Mr. O'Connor?
Yes.
Mr. Fishman?
Yes.
Mr. Pelletier?
Yes.
Mr. Churchill?
Yes.
Mr. Malaby?
Yes.
And chair votes yes. On matter of regional impact.
Mr. Chair, pursuant to RSA 36:56, the board finds that the proposal as presented at this time meets the definition of a development of regional impact.
Second.
Moved by Malaby, seconded by Churchill. As always, we will start with Mr. Chase, who leads us in these things.
No. This is a small local development in the center of town, nowhere near any town borders, and does not meet the jurisdiction, regional impact.
Okay, Mr. Healy.
No, for the same reasons as Mr. Chase.
Mr. Minovini.
No, for the same reasons.
Mr. O'Connor.
I concur with my fellow amendments over here.
So no for the same reasons? Great. Mr. Fishman.
No, for the same reasons.
Mr. Pelletier.
No, for the same reasons.
Mr. Churchill.
No, for the same reasons.
Mr. Malaby.
No, for the same
And
reason.
the chair vote no for the same reasons. May I have a motion to open the public hearing?
So moved.
Second.
Moved by Churchill, seconded by Malaby, to open the public hearing. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed, nay? The public hearing is open. I invite you to give your opening statement.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. For the record, my name is Doug McGuire. I'm with the DeBay Group, and I'm here representing the applicant on this, the Grindhouse Meat Company, LLC. Elizabeth gave a very nice summary to start, but I'll infill a little bit, but without getting repetitive, if I can. So this property, located off of Crystal Ave, is located between the Gibbs gas station and the McDonald's. We have about 50 feet of frontage in between those two uses, which is where our access point is going to be, and that will come in and provide primary access to the development, which the lion's share of the land is in behind those two uses. The land back there is about 6.185 acres. It's undeveloped currently. It is cleared and mowed, undeveloped, with wetlands to the rear of the property. Some of you may recall that we did come in a couple years back with a similar application to this. It is the same applicant. It was, at the time, a proposal for a butcher shop and a brewery with a shared casual type, non-wait service type restaurant in between the two. That they evaluated, there was some difficulties cost-wise with the massive size of the structure, as well as taking up so much room on the site at one pad elevation didn't allow for some working with the topography, which again added to some unexpected site costs. So they've come back, reevaluated, and this revised application has eliminated the brewery component entirely, and they are proposing a butcher shop with a connected yet standalone restaurant of a sit-down restaurant type, not the same type of walk-up window type service we were proposing before, but a more traditional sit-down restaurant of 150 seats. So that's the primary, that's what you see in the middle of the property as you look at your plan. The two parcels that Elizabeth mentioned on the left and right are a future pad areas. We don't have specific users for those, but the goal will be for cleanliness of the site to develop the entirety of the property, the parking, and essentially just leave those areas ready for potential pad sites in the future. It's a 5,000 square foot pad on the left side, anticipated to be some form of professional office, and on the right-hand side, 3,000 square feet of potential retail. So obviously the owners, I refer to them as the owners, they're leaseholders of the property. They have a 99-year lease on the property, so effectively owners of the property are focused primarily on the butcher shop and the restaurant to get started, but just wanted to kind of master plan the site the best that we could. So the access that we have coming in off of Crystal Ave, as Elizabeth mentioned, is 34 feet wide. That's exactly the same as what we had proposed previously. We kept a lot of that infrastructure the same in that coordination because obviously we put some time into it the first go around. If I could go to sheet 4, please, the site layout plan. So this here is obviously our site plan. You can see we have a fair amount of parking provided. We have 166 parking spaces shown on full build-out of the property. That is in excess of the requirement of 142 spaces. The main reason is because these users are very familiar with their process, and they have typically more employees than the average user may have, and so they want to have a little bit extra parking to not have a parking issue on site. The question Elizabeth mentioned regarding the seating, that does include that bar seating, so those numbers are adequate and correct for the use. And also on the layout plan, you can see, it's a little hard to see on the overhead, but we have dotted line areas around the limits of the pad areas. That's the limitation of the Phase 2. So you can see the vast majority of the parking on the left-hand side and everything except for the L area to the right, I guess if you're looking at the left side of the 3,000 square foot building is proposed to be constructed. So it'll feel like a finished product, which is obviously the intent, to have a nice clean product when they have their first phase. So next sheet is sheet 5, the landscaping plan. Look to do a robust landscaping plan meeting your criteria of the underlying zoning. We are showing, just for reference, 38 trees and over 85 shrubs on the property. So hopefully will look quite nice. One of the waivers that we're asking for is landscape related, so while we're on this sheet, I'll just direct you to that. There's a street tree requirement that you have along your frontage. As you know, or as I just mentioned, we're very limited on our frontage here, having just 50 feet of frontage. So we really can't accommodate any street trees in that area, but we didn't just eliminate those requirements, we put those street trees interior to the site so that they'll, still have a benefit to the property. So next sheet, please, the grading and drainage after the landscaping notes is sheet 7. So this is our grading and drainage. I'll just stop here and touch on this quickly. The design of this is very much similar to what we had on the original proposal, but I understand that there's new board members and some may not be familiar. So the limits of what we were working within are very similar. We have a closed drainage system consisting of bituminous curb internal to the site with catch basins and HDPE pipe to collect all the drainage and bring that to 2 pond systems that you can see. One that is being circled there. We have one system there, and over to the left, a secondary pond system. This provides all runoff attenuation and treatment of the stormwater prior to it exiting the site. The overall exit point of this property is to the bottom of the page, essentially westerly towards the McDonald's parking lot. There's a large existing culvert system that goes under the McDonald's parking lot and continues through under Crystal Ave and onward. So we made sure that we matched and modeled to that point, no increase in runoff, and we're providing treatment prior to it leaving the property in accordance with your regulations. Beyond that, we have utilities. The property is going to be serviced by public sewer, water, and natural gas. We are working to stub those utilities to the future potential pad layouts so that that's kind of ready to go and we're not ripping everything up again. The only item that I've been informed we can't do is the natural gas because they won't do that without an actual user. So luckily there's other opportunities, whether we can run it outboard of the pavement, or in this day and age you can do other options rather than natural gas for heating purposes. You have the heat pumps and electrical based ones that work very well these days. So we're not concerned about that, but we do have sewer and water to both pads, and we have sewer, water, and natural gas going to the butcher shop and the restaurant. Natural gas is obviously one that you particularly want at the restaurant, so we wanted to make sure that we got that in, and that is proposed. We have some additional detailing in the plan. An erosion control plan is sheet 10. We have a perimeter erosion protections, protecting all the wetland areas on the perimeter of the property, and making sure that we're in compliance with that. And beyond that, we have a lighting plan, very typical LED, downcast, full cutoff LED lighting, as you typically see with a standard commercial development such as this. And We have our site distance profile on sheet 12. We have great site distance visibility on this property. Very straight portion of Crystal Ave, very flat, so you can see well in excess of the requirements for site distance. That was all discussed with the Highway Safety Department. The 34-foot width is meant to accommodate any number of vehicles that come in, including emergency vehicles, but we also did do fire truck turning templates so that they can internally turn around on the left and right sides of the property internally. So we made sure that we could accommodate that. We have that on one of the last sheets of our set. Everything else is just construction-related details, and I'm happy to dive into those details if there's any particular questions from the board. We do have exterior renderings completed by the architect. They're off to a very great start on those, and those should also be in your packets. We have front, side, rear elevations, as well as a rendering of the building and what that would look like. And we can certainly talk about that at an appropriate time if and when you guys have any questions on that item. Other than that, I think I'll turn it back to the board if there's any questions, and then after that, I can detail the 3 waivers that we were looking for, unless you'd like me to go through those first, whatever's the board's pleasure.
So let me start with a few things that I noted as you were speaking. The representation has been made that Phase 2 will not increase the parking load because of phased hours of operation. So can you go into a little detail about what the plan is for operation of the butcher shop, the restaurant, and then the other uses that make that a reasonable assertion?
Sure. Well, so just to be clear, the design of the entire property is for full build-out. Meaning the parking calculations are for full build-out. You know, that requirement of the 144 parking spaces, that includes the 5,000 of the professional office, and it also includes the 3,000 of the retail. So we're designing to a full build scenario here. I think what you may be referencing in some of the items that Elizabeth spoke to is the traffic count. We did an initial trip generation study as part of the original application. We did an updated traffic study as part of this application, comparing the overall trips. The overall daily trips are similar. They're actually slightly lower than before, and I think it's mainly because of the type of restaurant that you have. Before, we had, as I said, almost a quick serve restaurant. You had not table service, but go to a window, much more turnover. This is going to be more of a conventional type restaurant where you come in, you're probably maybe waiting for a little bit for a table, and then you're sitting down. It's a longer experience, and so the turnover is less, and less overall trips associated with that. So we're confident that this development is no more intrusive than the original development of the brewery, restaurant, and butcher shop. And obviously, the benefits that we have is there's a lot of infrastructure in place on Crystal Ave. So, you have that shared left turn lane. That's a huge benefit, because as the trips come up, you really start triggering those left turn warrants, which would require a left turn pocket, but luckily for us, we have that pocket already installed. And as I said, we went very wide and large on the throats in and out of our property to be able to help aid in those transitions. But this type of development is very much in line with other properties that are along the corridor. You have T-Bones essentially next door, very similar type use. So we don't anticipate this being any different than some of these other uses that you have along the corridor. We also find that in trip generation, you're talking about raw trips, okay? That's what is this use going to generate? What you can take into account for, and what we conservatively did not take into account for, is there's a lot of trips associated with pass-by trips. And so you have a large amount of people, they're traveling on Crystal Ave, going home, whatever, they're going to do other shopping, and they say, hey, while I'm driving by, I'd love to stop into the butcher shop and grab something. So those are not new trips associated, so we're pulling a lot of traffic just from the existing flow of traffic that goes past the site already. So I hope that answers your question. That's really that I wanted to clarify that the trip generation reflected the full build, as did the traffic on site and the representations we made to the Highway Safety Committee. Everything was regarding the full build. This is really more of a construction phasing item where we recognize that we don't have exact users, and you may want to review the architecturals of those associated buildings when they come forward. So because we didn't have those, we put them as a second phase at this venture.
In terms of the hours and patron flow and parking, how does this compare to the Raymond store?
To the Raymond store? It will be similar. The intent is for them potentially to do lunch and dinner. I should clarify that although there's clear, obviously, affiliations there, this is not going to be the same as the Raymond store. This is essentially a new restaurant going to be called the Grindhouse, not called Tuckaway or something like that. So we're excited for it. I think you're going to see a lot of similarities in the butcher shop components, but the restaurant will be something, new that the applicants are looking to put forward.
In regard to phase 2, I assume you're going to have escrow phased because you don't really know when that's going to happen. Does anyone want to comment on that from staff?
I don't believe that phase 2 would require an escrow for site purposes because it would just be the erection of the building.
Okay. And do we anticipate any disruption of existing parking for storage of construction materials and machines and whatnot on site during the construction?
That was one of the reasons that we didn't do that final piece of the parking. So we had a staging area to the left of the 3,000 square foot building, and we do have some area associated with the parking lot of that 5,000 square foot building, because the lion's share of that parking, which we're proactively building now, is allocated for that use. So it wouldn't be an issue to put temporary fencing to temporary close off a portion of that parking lot for staging on that building.
And speaking of fencing, just out of my curiosity, I noticed that in the notes it indicated that you have included a fence between this and an adjacent business to prevent people from sharing parking spaces. I want to know a little bit more about that. Is that going to become a standard thing? Every time we have one business, we have to put a fence between the two parking lots? Well, is there a real public safety issue here? I don't understand.
The police department raised that issue. That was something that I think Chief Fioli had mentioned and requested.
Yeah, I don't understand the logic behind it. That's why I'm asking.
I can probably help to that. I guess from what I understand, I think this was more of this site-specific request, and it was mainly due to the fact that, according to the chief, and this, again, was not our idea, we thought there's merit to it. Apparently, that abutting use has shortages of parking. So in this case, there was a concern that there could be some people saying, hey, well, I could park right there and just walk right over, and obviously that's not what we need our parking for our property, so it was just suggested. So I don't think it would be a normal request brought up. I think it was just a noted item that particular use is light on their overall parking needs. They're utilizing parking off-site already, so.
Okay. So, other members of the board have comments, questions?
I have 3 or 4 questions, if you don't mind.
Go ahead.
Part of this here, too, based on some of the notes that I've been reading, is that you were concerned about the traffic for the kids coming from the upper school area between the Gibbs and the McDonald's area. Because there was a path through there, and that's where some of the fence was going to go into, create a barrier.
I think the fence is on the opposite side of the part. I actually went to look at it today.
Okay.
The fence is on the opposite side of the parcel than that trail.
There are two fencing discussion items, you are right, sir, so you're both right. One we're talking about was between the abutter to the, call it, where are we, south, and the other was suggested that we temporarily put some construction fencing up during construction just to keep the kids out because it's a pretty popular path to walk through. Once the development is underway and complete, there's no need to necessarily prevent that access point. In fact, we have sidewalks along the left side of the access all the way out for that reason, for foot traffic that's intended to come to and from the development. So I think that those are two separate items, but we're addressing both.
One of my other questions is, on the technical review committee, I don't see what the questions were. I see that you responded to them. I'm not sure how you responded, but am I assuming that whatever VHB put out there, you were in agreement with that, or was that resolved? Because
So VHB's review came after TRC. We worked with staff first, obtained their entire sign-off of all the departments, and then at that point, we engaged, or via Elizabeth's office, engaged VHB to do a supplemental review just of the professional, additional pieces of the plan set. We did receive that review. We've addressed most of those items. None required any design changes on the site, and we didn't have any issues with those items.
the other question I have is, the next phase is phase 2 or 3, whatever it's going to be for those two other occupancies that are not part of what we're looking at today. But you put all the calculations with that for like the sewer calculations on the flow and so forth. So you brought that all together in one loop, so we're seeing it this today versus seeing it sometime in the future.
That's correct. I think the best way to look at it would be that these two additional building pads are more construction phased rather than permitting phased. The alteration of terrain permit recognized the full build out. The VHB review recognized the full build out. And so logistically, all we're saying is that we're not going to erect these two structures at the exact same time that we build the first building. So that's going to get built first. There's going to be some nice grassy pads that underneath have ready to go graveled areas that can start construction if and when that comes to fruition.
Only two more questions, if you don't mind. Utility plan sheet number 8, and it talks about the monitoring well covers. What's the purpose of that? That's the first time I've ever seen something like that.
So those are existing monitoring wells. I think Gibbs got themselves in a little bit of trouble in the past with some hydrocarbon issues.
Yeah, the DES wells.
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
So they're just for monitoring purposes. They are still monitored, and what we will do is, there's a very simple process. We will protect the well, and then we will put a cap system that essentially is a hollow you open up, and then you can uncap and do your testing and everything. So we're just preserving those, not snapping them off, and they're going to just be a riser cover to the surface.
Those are probably put in the...
You just opened up a whole new can of worms, because I have a lot of experience in this area. So who's doing the testing, who's responsible, and who's migrating the flow underneath the soil area? And
so all of that's all established. It's nothing to do with us. It's all Gibbs related, their use. Those wells, I think they were reviewed and tested and monitored and provided by a Maine-based company this past year. I saw some files on that. So not to minimize the issue, but it's not really our issue.
It's a DES issue, John.
Probably the old MBTE issue back in the early 90s.
Because my facility, I had 412,000
anymore.
Before they went to the double wall tanks, we had the single wall tanks that were leaking, but it migrated through this. So it's going to flow underneath, depending on the aquifer, which way it's flowing.
They don't even use that chemical anymore in the gasoline, but...
And the other one I want to mention just also is that when you talked about the similarities of the restaurant here versus the one at Tuckaway, I spent a lot of time up there in Pawtuckaway campgrounds, and we always go over to Tuckaway for the meals, and so the place is quite busy over there, so you guys do a nice job.
I wish I could take credit, but I'm just the engineer.
All right, anyone else have comments, questions?
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Chair. Yeah, so I agree that the fence between T-Bones and this property makes sense because anyone that frequents T-Bones knows on a busy day, you can't find a spot. As a matter of fact, I think their employees park off-site. They have an agreement with somebody else. That's how tight that is. I also frequent going to Raymond and watch how busy they are over there. It seems to work. You know, you get in and out. It's tight sometimes, but you can make that work. So my question I have is the front of the building that you've got here is facing Crystal Ave, correct?
Correct.
Okay. And obviously in the drawing, you've got cars that are right up front, but that's not really going to happen, right? Because you've got two handicap spots.
Yes, you're correct.
That was just put in.
It's pretty common when the architects do the renderings. They're trying to just provide some context, but in this case, there are none on that left-hand side, and that was intentional because we really wanted to bring the traffic in and get them away from that front.
So as I'm looking at the site plan, off to the right, I mean, the front is the only way in and out of the building, and there's nothing on the side? Because the way I'm looking at this is, just my personal opinion, is people that are going to frequent are going to actually pull to the right and use those parking areas there to get in and out. Unless they're so packed and busy, then they'll move to the left. But so there's no entrance off to the side. Is there a side entrance?
No, unfortunately, I mean, this property, and this was the same way it was the first iteration around, we only have the frontage access from Crystal Ave. So the goal was to make sure that we did have very good internal circulation, something that the current Raymond site is lacking a little bit. But essentially we have every portion of the parking can be a full wrap. So you're not dead-ended essentially anywhere except for that very small parking to the left of the 3,000 square foot building. That's really the only piece that has any dead-ended component. And so you're able to wrap, and the radii are done so that, to the point that a fire truck could actually wrap through both sides of that. So we increase those radii. So I think it's going to feel a lot more open from a circulation standpoint for just your standard vehicular traffic, because it's sized for larger vehicles.
Okay. And correct me if I'm wrong, so the entryway, that dog leg, that's part of this property, or that's just an easement?
Dog leg.
Right on Crystal, to get into the building, right? Because you didn't have to go for a variance for anything.
Nope.
So, but this whole parcel is dog-legged to Crystal Ave, correct? It's part of the lot itself, and it's not just an easement that you got from...
Oh, no, no, that's correct. The 50-foot is legal frontage and land associated with this parcel.
Okay.
It's not an easement.
Yeah, because we would not have allowed a subdivision without frontage.
Well, that's where I was going with that. I'm just checking.
Yeah.
And personally, just my opinion, maybe I really shouldn't say it, but I will. I can actually see people at night coming to the restaurant and probably using some of McDonald's parking off to that side because no one's ever there. McDonald's is a drive-through, and most of their business is drive-through. They've got a lot of parking in there. That's never full. So if anything, if it's busy, I could see people maybe parking there at night and then zipping over. But anyway, I'm excited to see it. I'm a customer over there, and Raymond just saved me a big trip. So.
I will just add on that point. You're not necessarily wrong, but the good news is that the operators of the Raymond site are well aware of the parking demands, and that's why this is 166 parking spaces. That's substantially more than what they have available in Raymond, and that was done intentionally. So they are trying to accommodate the potential for for that traffic.
And I don't know if I'm correct in saying that Well, I don't know what the size of the parking spots are. I think in Raymond, they're on the smaller side. They're tight. So if
These are your
everyone's
standard.
parked in there and I've got my, my Mustang, I got to open that door to get my feet out. That door's got to swing.
I sympathize with you because Mustangs have doors like the wings on a 747.
Exactly. But I'm thinking that the parking spots here in Derry are probably larger.
And these all meet your design standards.
Okay,
Every
perfect.
one of them.
Anyone else? Mr. Chase?
I'll start with the simplest one first. What's going to be the hours of operation? I don't see them on the sheets anywhere.
I don't know if it's 100% finalized, but I would say it's going to be very similar to Raymond. I don't know if you want to speak to it, Bobby.
Hi guys, Bobby Marcotte, partner of this project. Thank you for your patronage, very much appreciated. But yeah, our hours of operation, obviously, we'll see what the demographics demand and things like this, but we plan to start with very similar hours. So 11 to 8 is our current operation for the restaurant, and then it's 9 to 7 for the butchery. So I see it being very similar.
Okay. Are you guys going to have takeout there?
No, we don't do takeout.
You don't do takeout, okay. And I see on, this would be more for the engineer, I see on sheet 4, snow storage to the east, next to the 3,000 square foot building. I notice you have snow storage that is actually taking parking spaces.
Yeah, so, good eye. That was requested by the Conservation Commission when we went and visited them. Their preference is that the snow, obviously snow can get contaminated when it gets plowed up because you're picking up whatever you're picking up as you pile it. Their preference would be that go through the fullest extent of the treatment system as possible. And so in this case where we have 166 parking spaces where not as many is required, we said we could allocate some to be able to do that, kind of like they do at a supermarket, where they utilize some of the rear spaces and make that happen. Obviously, if that can't happen, we do have ability to, where I had it in the first place, which is on-site, off the pavement, but draining into one of the pond systems. It's not as good because you don't put it through the whole catch basin chain before you go to the pond, but the pond is associated or anticipated to provide treatment as well. So we have options, and of course, if we have a crazy snowstorm, they can truck it off-site, and we do have notations on the site plan to require that.
Okay.
I would just note too, sorry, now that I got the mic, you won't get it back, but for the wintertime, our butcher shop significantly decreases in business too, so I think we thought that wasn't big of a deal when discussing.
And my last question would be, I noticed that for the butcher shop and the restaurant, I only see 2 handicap spaces. Are those, where's the 6?
I saw that too, and my recommendation is going to be 166 spots.
Yes, but those are for the other buildings. I'm talking about for the restaurant phase right there. There's only 2, and to me, that doesn't seem adequate for the patronage that's anticipated there.
Well, the rationale behind it is that 166 parking spaces requires 6 ADA spaces. It's basically 1 per 50 spaces. So we just placed 2 with each use. It worked well that the 2 for the restaurant and butcher are 100% closest to the door. We kind of tucked them in right there. I mean, I think, there could be opportunity to shift another 2 over there and, do 1 of each on the other it's a double-edged sword because sometimes you see so many ADA spaces that they're not being used and you lose all the frontage spaces to to, that are just more vacant than not. But
I would like to make a suggestion on that is, on that south side of the restaurant, around the corner where you had just alluded to,
Yep.
you might want to put an ADA tip down there so that if you find the need later on, it's easy to change the striping. It's a lot harder to put in an ADA tip down later.
yeah,
That way it would be there, it could be used from other parts of the parking lot, plus if you needed to restripe that for handicap, you already have your tip down.
I think that's a good idea.
And the last question I have, and this is just a one, with the former plan, the board had suggested possibly negotiating or talking with the owners of 55 Crystal Ave, where it's so close in that back northeast corner, of tying in the two occupancies, whether that was feasible or not. Did that ever come to any kind of fruition or not?
The problem is it is a full wetland system there, and that's actually the lion's share of that wetland system behind is where it all flows through. So I know what you're talking, but it would be a wetland impact, and it seemed like it was going to be more permitting than.
And that was it. That was part of the discussions that you were gonna have is how much of a wetland impact, what is the cost benefit analysis and such. And I was just wondering whether anything had come out of that or whether it was immediately apparent that it just wasn't feasible.
I mean, I guess I'll just say that I didn't do a physical square footage and a grading of it. What we noted was there's so much water coming through that wetland system, because a good portion of the area to the east does drain down into that wetland. Obviously, that wetland isn't created just by our property. And all of that flows along that perimeter. So, I mean, you'd be looking at a large open box culvert for the crossing there, a more substantial crossing. And really, at the end of the day, the access is adequate. The circulation is adequate for the fire, so we kind of felt comfortable where, I think actually this access, circulation-wise, is even better than the previous plan because you have those loops on both sides. So, and they can accommodate a ladder truck. So we felt comfortable with it, but we did not take a full engineer look at that.
Okay.
Other questions, comments? Anyone else first? Back to you, John.
Okay, thank you. And most of this is going to be directed to a question towards Mr. LaRue. I'm still hung up on this Gibbs with the well water monitoring systems, because it's very close to exit 4A and what HATCO has and so forth. And one of the things we have under the conditions says, subject to receipt of applicable state and local permits relating to the project's AOT, building, et cetera, et cetera. So the responsibility of the Gibbs under DES, do we have any part with that there, or is it all just strictly them? Only because of the fact that we are one of the very, very closest critical aquifers in the north part of the state.
Well, I will say that, monitoring wells are not my specialty, but I do know that the state monitors, and it's typically private environmental companies that provide the service, just like at Abbott Court where the parking lots proposed. It's just a conduit to get samples. This is primarily what it is. And they make protective caps. We're going to have to go through the same process when that parking garage goes down. There's some that are moving or being relocated. Others will stay the same, be modified to the surface. In this case, these will be modified to the surface. We'll pay close attention. Is actually one of my conditions in the list of items that I provided. Is the first one, actually. We do always stress the importance of maintaining them, always making sure, even, believe it or not, there are a couple of monitoring wells across the street where the new development is on the common man side as well for that site, for for Gibbs Station that were approved. I wasn't even aware that they were there until we started breaking ground. So they're also retaining those on that side as well.
Okay, thank you.
Anyone else? I had a couple questions / comments on the architecture. This is in general commercial, and general commercial is not as strict as some of the other districts. And I think, the front facade is perfectly wonderful for general commercial. My only comment was that both ends of the building are just blank. And I'm wondering, had you given any thought to fake fenestration, just to give it a little more pedestrian scale? I'm not suggesting actual windows, but just black outlines that are window shaped to kind of make it look a little bit more like a pedestrian scale and a little less expansive blank wall.
If Councilor Grenice was here, he'd probably make a recommendation for granite.
So it's a fair comment, and I think we can do some, it would be adding like some faux doors or something along those lines on that side to just kind of break up the facade.
Yeah.
I mean, it won't be, I think it'll still be attractive because it's the same cedar siding and everything that's going to be wrapping that portion of the building. So it's not like, you have the nice facade and it's a steel building on the side or something like that. But we can look at adding something on that side.
Yeah, I mean, if that can work into the plans, I think that would be, in addition to what I think is already a very nice design. Do we have any members in the cyber audience?
Chair, we're seeing none rise.
Okay. Any alibis from members of the board?
Motion to close the public hearing?
Moved by Malaby, seconded by Chiricello to close the public hearing. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Public hearing is closed. So now we go down our,
You want to take
I think the next thing is waivers. If you could kind of give us, for all of the three waivers, generally, I think you already talked about the street trees.
Yep, so I can just give a quick...
About the rest of them, give us kind of why you need it.
Sure, of course. So I guess I'll start the street tree one, just to remind you, it's that we really just don't have the frontage to be able to put the street trees, but we allocated those elsewhere. So that was the purpose for waiver number 3. I'll just start working backwards. Waiver number 2, curbing. The interior of the site, we're looking to do as bituminous curb. It is a private site. What we are doing is we're doing, to tie into the streetscape, we are doing granite at the entrances so that there's continuity there. So it wouldn't transition until you get internal to the site. And so we thought that was hopefully a fair compromise in that, trying to get this, obviously it didn't move forward the first time. We were trying to do some value engineering. It's massively different in price on those items for the internal components. And I will say we are still doing integral concrete curbing for the walkways and stuff. So you're not going to have bituminous up against the buildings. It's just the islands and some of the perimeter areas would have the bituminous. So that was the purpose of waiver number 2. And then waiver number 1, we have a very flat site. We only drop about 4 feet in grade. And one thing that we tried to do in redesigning this property from a value engineering standpoint was to work a little bit more with the grade, meaning that before we had the big long rectangular building, we had to be at one pad all the way around the building. This time, because we have 3, the left portion of the property or the northern portion of the property was able to sit a few feet lower. It made a massive difference in the amount of fill that would need to be brought in. Because of that, we had a couple of the very tail ends of the pipe runs that had a little less than the 3 feet of required cover to be able to still get into the pond systems that we have, because we're obviously regulated by the grade of how deep we can outlet these pond systems. So we had a couple minor items that we're talking, 2.8 feet, 2.7 feet of cover, and we had actually more than that. We had less cover, and that was one of the items at TRC that we worked with Mark on at Public Works. He expressed some concern, hey, is there some ideas? He actually came up with a good engineering solution to tie the ponds together, which I don't need to get into, but it was a good idea and allowed us to get a little bit more cover over the pipe. So he was comfortable with what we got it to, and so that's the last waiver.
Anyone on the board object to voting on these waivers altogether?
I'm fine with that.
And let's go ahead and do that.
Mr. Chair, I'd like to move to grant a waiver from LDCR Section 170-65J, stormwater management requirements, to allow less than 3 feet of cover over CB7 and CB8. After review of the waiver request, the board finds that specific circumstances relative to the plan or conditions of the land in such plan indicate that the waiver will properly carry out the spirit and intent of the regulations. I move to grant a waiver from LDCR Section 170-26.A14, streets curbing, to allow bituminous curbing in the main portion of the site, retaining vertical granite curbing along the northern side of the driveway up to the end of the sidewalk, and along a new concrete center island created for Gibbs Gas. After review of the waiver request, the board finds that specific circumstances relative to the plan or conditions in the land in such plan indicate that the waiver will properly carry out the spirit and intent of the regulations. I move to grant a waiver from LDCR Section 170-64.B1, landscaping street tree strip, to not install the required street tree strip. After review of the waiver request, the board finds that specific circumstances relative to the plan or conditions of the land in such plan indicate that the waiver will properly carry out the spirit and intent of the regulations.
Moved by Malaby, seconded by Chiricello. Is there any discussion? Mr. Chase.
I just want to check with Mr. LaRue. You're okay with the first one?
Yes.
Okay, we ready for a vote? Mr. Chase.
Yes.
Mr. Healy.
Yes.
Mr. Minervini.
Yes.
Mr. O'Connor.
Yes.
Mr. Fishman.
Yes.
Mr. Pelletier.
Yes.
Mr. Chiricello.
Yes.
Mr. Malaby.
Yes.
And chair votes yes. On the matter of architectural design.
Mr. Chair, I move to find that pursuant to LDCR 170-85, that the application as presented demonstrates substantial compliance with the architectural design regulations. This property is located in the general commercial zoning district and meets an appropriate level of compliance as outlined in section 170-84.
Moved by Malaby, seconded by Chiricello. We'll poll the board. Mr. Chase.
Yes.
Mr. Healy.
Yes.
Mr. Minervini.
Yes.
Mr. O'Connor.
Yes.
Mr. Fishman.
Yes.
Mr. Pelletier.
Yes.
Mr. Chiricello.
Yes.
Mr. Malaby.
Yes.
Chair votes yes. Findings of fact.
Mr. Chair, the board finds the proposed plan provides safe and efficient vehicular and pedestrian access, and the design and construction of the access ways and walkways and/or design and construction of the site is adequate to accommodate the anticipated volume of traffic proposed by the development. The board finds the proposed parking plan is adequate for the site and meets the parking density requirements for the use. The board finds the landscape plan meets the intent of the regulations. The board finds the stormwater management as proposed is designed to control the post-development runoff so that it does not exceed pre-development runoff. The board finds the utility construction standards are met and the property has a sufficient number of hydrants for the proposed use. The board finds exterior lighting, snow storage provisions, and erosion and sediment control provisions are adequate. The board finds the proposal for storage of solid waste and disposal of waste conforms with applicable regulations, and the applicant has provided reasonable safeguards ensuring such waste will not become an undue threat to the environment nor create an undue nuisance.
Second.
Okay, moved by Malaby, seconded by Chiricello. Any discussion? None? Mr. Chase.
Yes.
Mr. Healy.
Yes.
Mr. Minervini.
Yes.
Mr. O'Connor.
Yes.
Mr. Fishman.
Yes.
Mr. Pelletier. Yes. Mr. Chiricello.
Yes.
Mr. Malaby.
Yes.
Chair votes yes. I had one kind of, I'm just curious question, and this really has nothing to do with the approval, but when looking at the plans, I found a whole bunch of property lines where there were different dotted lines and different deeds referenced, and one said this one is held. So what the heck is going on there?
You need a lawyer to figure that out.
Well, I can tell you that that is fairly common. We performed a full boundary survey. We do have in-house survey at our office, so we did that work. And typically, what you will do is you'll locate all the monumentation that you can find on the property. You'll also look at any plan references or deed work that you can do to lay that out. And I'm not a surveyor, but essentially what you do is you really need to make a best fit determination. And if it's determined, because let's face it, monumentation that was done in 1972 might not be quite as accurate as we do it nowadays. And so it's against the law to remove someone else's survey monument, even if it's incorrect. So many times you'll see that monumentation will be shown but not held because it may be incorrect, but you can't pick it up, dig it up, and move it, which to me, as a non-surveyor, kind of makes more sense. Like, hey, we figured out this is a mistake, let's correct it. But it's the record on the ground, and that cannot be done. So that's probably the reason.
Thank you for...
This is why they get, you buy title insurance.
Yeah, well, thank you for satisfying my curiosity. This is not a subdivision, so it's not really a matter in front of us, but I thought it was exceptional, and I had to ask.
I have a quick question, Mr. Chairman, that we really didn't get into, and not dealing with the approval, but we didn't really talk about a sign and sign location.
So that was intentional.
Okay.
We really don't have much room along the frontage to have the sign. The applicants are hopeful and confident that signage on the street will not be necessary.
Okay.
They got this site with the lack of visibility, kind of knowing that it was more of a, hey, we know that that's there type of situation. So there will be the Grindhouse on the building, as you see in the rendering,
Right.
but we're not proposing any signage on the street at this point. If that's
Right.
needed and it's possible, we'll obviously come back for that.
Right. Thank you.
So now on the approval.
Mr. Chair, after review and deliberation of the commercial mixed-use site plan application for PID 32025-003, 43.5 Crystal Avenue, the Grindhouse Meat Company, the board finds the applicant has satisfied the general requirements of the Land Development Control Regulations, or in cases where the regulation cannot be met, has satisfied the waiver requirements. Therefore, the motion is to approve pursuant to RSA 676:4 Roman 1 completed application with the following conditions. Comply with the VHB review letter dated July 30th, 2025 or subsequent, subject to owner's signature. Adjust DPW comments. Number 1, add note to the contractor owner shall coordinate the improvements to the existing monitoring wells at the entrance with NHDES. Number 2, add note that the contractor may be required to connect the existing water service to Gibbs Gas Station during construction of the water main. 3, add note the contractor must coordinate construction of the access drive with Gibbs Gas Station operations. 4, remove internal drop SMH detail and add Town of Derry drop SMH detail. 5, remove drop over SMH detail entirely. 6, final plan must include all roof drains, structure locations. 7, Scrivener's error, that's fire hydrant detail, must note either stainless steel American Darling B, 84B, or Cloud Medallion fire hydrant ordered with plug drain weep holes. 8, wood beam guardrail detail must be changed to show posts at 4 foot intervals, and plan view must detail where it's proposed and where New Hampshire DOT standard steel guardrail is proposed. Subject to on-site inspection by the town's engineer. Establish appropriate escrow as required to complete the project. Note approved waivers on the plan. Obtain written approval from the planning director designee that the GIS submission is received and is operable and it complies with the LDCR section 170-61.c. subject to receipt of applicable state or local permits relating to the project, i.e. AOT, building department, fire department, water, wastewater, driveway, etc. Conditions precedent shall be met within 6 months. Planning board administrative review of the sign package shall occur prior to the issuance of the sign permits. Provide an 11 by 17 sheet for sub-addressing of the lot for Phase 2 as per the fire department comment on 4/4/2025.
Moved by Malaby, seconded by Churchiello. Ms. Robert, I have a question. When they were in 2 years ago, did we give them a site plan approval? Should we, as part of the conditions, note that that previous approval is now being rescinded in lieu of this one?
That, the previous approval, they never met all the conditions of approval, so it expired.
It expired. Great, thank you. All right. Any other debate or questions?
Oh, all set.
Okay. Mr. Chase?
Yes.
Mr. Healy?
Yes.
Mr. Minividi?
Yes.
Mr. O'Connor?
Yes.
Mr. Fishman?
Yes.
Mr. Pelletier?
Yes.
Mr. Churchill?
Yes.
Mr. Malaby?
Yes.
Chair votes yes. Thank you very much. We're all quite excited.
Welcome to Derry.
Welcome to Derry.
Thank you very much.
Looking forward to it.
And note, there were some typos in the conditions that Richard corrected as you read it. Yeah, thank you.
Irie?
All right, I think the next item on the agenda is board member comments. Do we have any comments from board members? Hearing none, then maybe a motion to adjourn?
Yes.
So,
Second.
Moved and seconded that we be adjourned. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
We stand adjourned.